Welcome back to another web development video where I'll show you how to make modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. In this video, I'm going to continue a series on teaching web development basics using Webflow, or this might be applicable to other no-code platforms or applications that you're using. And the idea is that these things, sometimes in their tutorial videos, they do a good job of showing you how to use all of the elements of the program and how to make specific things, but they're not actually teaching you web development necessarily. And so with Webflow, we have this really unique opportunity that we can actually make a website that rivals a hand-done website, a hand-coded website, but just using a graphic interface. So all of the things are there for you to do that, but sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for, it's hard to know what those things are. So in the previous video, we covered HTML5 semantic tags, and instead of using the over here, instead of using just a div block, we turn that div block into a navigation or a main section or an aside or footer. So if you want to check that video out, that's in the playlist and you can go back and watch that one. In this video, we're going to talk about anchor tags and IDs. And an anchor link, you've probably interacted with them before if you've gone to a single page website where you click on a link at the top and it scrolls you down to another section on the same page. That's called an anchor link or a jump link. And the ID of the section that you're jumping to is how those two things are connected. So there's a link that points to a section that has a particular ID. Now an ID is a hashtag, so it's a hashtag whatever, and that's connected to any HTML tag, any HTML element on the page can have an ID. IDs, there can only be one specific ID on the page, so you can't have two items with the same exact name for its ID. They have to be unique ID names. So let's look at our structure here, and this is our main section over here, we can tell, and we're just going to give that an ID of main. Now the way you get to ID, this is the normal setup here. You go to the gear icon, and just like you found the HTML tag, you can find the ID field. There's no need to put a hashtag there. You just type in the name and Webflow will give that ID automatically to the section. The next one is our aside, and that's going to be our sidebar. And the next section is a footer, and we'll just call that footer. And I want to go ahead and give our, not our navigation, but our section here, which is called a header, and we're going to call that header. Actually, I'll call it what I call it. I always call it masthead. I grew up in newspaper, and in newspapers, the top part that has the date and the title of the newspaper and all that kind of stuff, that's all called the masthead. So that's what I'm familiar with. And whenever we publish our site, we can actually see these things and how they're affected on the web page. So Control-Shift-I opens up our developer tools in Chrome. And if you go here, you can see our header has a navigation element inside of it, and then main has an ID of main, sidebar, and footer. And you can see up here that it's reflected with the hashtag. And you see how you don't have to put the hashtag. And then this one has an ID of masthead. So what the IDs do is they give us something to connect to, so we can use IDs for writing CSS, which is a more specific way than just saying all of the headers do this. This header is masthead, and only this one is going to do this. Again, you can't use multiple IDs on a page, so if you wanted to mark multiple things with particular CSS styles, you would want to use classes, not IDs. IDs are good for hooking into JavaScript and also for doing what we're about to do, which is to create jump links from one section to another. So let's go ahead and go into our navigation element here. And what I'm going to do is just to grab a list and I'm going to go right into and add that to the navigation. Let's see, will it let me? There we go. Okay, so now our list is inside of our navigation, and I'm just going to add a few things here. One is going to be main, and then we're going to say sidebar, and then we're going to say what's the last one? The last one is footer. Okay. And let's go in here and we'll just double click on each of these, and we'll choose the insert link. And then right here for the URL, we want it to link to not a page, but we want it to link in the same page to a particular section. This one is going to be called main, and we're going to do that same thing here. This one's going to be called sidebar. And this one will be called footer. Okay, so now we have all of our links set up. You can tell they're links because they're blue, they're underlined, and each of them goes to a different one of these 3 sections. Let's go in here and create some way to know which section is which. So we're just going to throw a heading into each of these. This one here is going to be main, and we'll just copy that and paste it down. And this one is going to be sidebar. Paste it again, and that's going to be footer. And then let's go through each of these and give we'll give this section a particular CSS style, and it's going to help us, I think. So let's go into our styles, and we'll say the height is going to be, let's say 50 viewport heights. So you can see that it's going to be half of whatever the viewport is from here to the bottom of the page. It's going to take up 50% of the vertical space. This one here, let's give it a height of 30. And for this one here, let's also give it, well, let's give it a height of 20. Okay. The reason I'm doing that is that so that you can see how the page scrolls down. It's probably better for us to do these all at 50. So let's do that. That way we can see how it scrolls down. Okay. So now let's publish, and let's see over here. By refreshing, we can see now that we have a nav, and our navigation is here. These are all of our list items. There's a link, and the href, so the hypertext reference, is not another page, it's a hashtag main, and that means that it's going to go down to this main section right here. So main should come right to the top whenever we click on this, and it does. Sidebar also should rise right to the top. It should scroll us right down to sidebar. And you can see that Webflow already has baked into it sort of a nice scrolling action that sort of eases you down the page and rolls to the right place. That's not the way that if you just opened up an HTML document and did it, it would literally just jump right there. So it would just pull everything right up the page without the scrolling action. But Webflow includes that in there as part of what it does. Okay, now footer, because it's not as tall as the whole page, it only comes down to the bottom, basically. It makes the whole footer come into view. If this was 100 viewport width or heights, then it would come all the way to the top. But as it is, there's nothing else underneath here to keep scrolling with. So when it comes down to the footer, it just shows here. So something to think about. If this was only a small footer like this, it would, more of the page up here would show, because there's no more document underneath. But that is how footer links work. And you can see that it gives the hashtag in the URL. When you click it, it puts the hashtag there. so that even if you copy and pasted this in and you click on it, it'll actually take you to the sidebar whenever the page opens. So this is an active part of the URL that you could share with other people. If you wanted to send them to a specific part of the page, you can actually do that up in the URL. So if you have any questions about this, we'll cover classes in another video, but I just want to make sure that you understood IDs. And again, they can be used for CSS like this, like we targeted these specific sections with CSS, or they can be used for linking within the page, jump links. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button, and very appreciative of the 6,000 or so people at the time of this video who subscribed. And if you think to share it, that would be great. If it's helpful for others in your community or in your groups, please share this. And if you missed the first video, go back and watch it. This one sort of builds on that, but they are two separate sorts of ideas. And like I said, in the next video, we'll cover classes. All right, I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.